Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter what time of day it is. We want to thank you for joining this week's episode of the Chimney and Fireplace Success Network. The mission and our purpose in doing this is to share with you, our listeners, valuable information that you can put to use in your own business. Because many times, ideas are going to be the seeds of change in your business. So that's our desire and why we do this every week. So we also like to bring on a guest when we can find someone that has great information to share, and today is no different. Our guest today is a gentleman I'm very familiar with. I've worked with him. I've visited his location. I know how he runs his business. I know how he operates, and believe it or not, I actually know how he thinks, and it's a great relationship. And that person is Sean Kraemer. Sean is a younger guy. He's based in Wairika, California, which is in Northern California. And it's a good little distance from an airport that you can get into and out of. And even when you go in, sometimes it's a challenge to either get there or to get out of there. But Sean has a business. I'm going to even tell you a little bit about it, a little bit that he worked in at one time. And then he assumed ownership, him and his wife, Hannah. And they have two beautiful little kids. I saw this week on a visit. They're, Sean, can we say rather rambunctious would be a good word, but they're really great kids when you looked at it. His son wanted to give me one of his big trucks this week, Brandy. How about that? Wanted to give me a souvenir to bring home to. See, we're going to give me one of his trucks. Make it as far as that goes. So anyway, we'll get started here today. Sean, let's tell folks a little bit about yourself and what do you do? Tell us what you do for a living, brother.
Well, officially, I own and operate a chimney sweeping company. We do kind of the full gambit. We do inspection, service, installations, repairs, oil, gas, wood, pellet, electric. So we kind of cover a wide variety of stuff. We live in a very rural area. There's about 45,000 people in this whole county that we live in, and it actually happens to be the largest county in California. It also happens to be the poorest county as well. So there's a lot of people that don't have a lot of money. We happen to be the largest hearth and chimney sweep company in the county and have been for a really long time. The company actually started in like 1979. So the name in this area has been around a long time. I got hired on in 2015. In 2007. So I've been doing it for a little over 15 years. I bought into the company as a partner in 2014. Not a whole lot changed at that point though, because I was still kind of the primary technician. We didn't have it wasn't a very big company at that time. There was just my partners, Tony and Jeannie. We had one person helping out in the office, and then we had one person helping out as an assistant in the field. But I was pretty much doing all the field work at that point in time. And then in 2019, the beginning of 2019, so 4 years ago, my wife and I took over the business. So that's a little bit of history of the company we run and operate. But over the last 4 years, a lot has changed for us as I've learned how to run a business and how to become a leader, really, ultimately. And that's kind of more of what I'm into now, is not just running and operating a chimney sweep business, but more of developing people, helping people, giving people a career path and teaching them leadership skills and abilities that will not only help them in the workplace, but also help them in their own lives. It's something I've very much become passionate about, and it's something that I'm very much incorporating into our company. So, yeah.
So, Sean, one of the things is, as you took over ownership of this business and started operating it, many things came to light about the business, about what you're doing. And some of it was finding out that maybe you didn't get the best training as an employee as you went through this. And you've actually are having to look at, you've changed your business processes, you're changing the way things are done. But the thing is, you're making some real hard decisions. And that means that looking at it, sometimes people are not the right fit for the business and you're having to make changes. But what this is doing is resulting in an astronomical level of culture in the company. When I was there on my last visit, like I told you, I could sense it, I could feel it when you walk into the door. It was a definitely different atmosphere at Holy Smokes than I had seen on previous visits. I've done SWAT meetings with you and those type of things. But one of the things that intrigued me was you told me a couple weeks ago that you were going to start doing leadership training with your people. And we had some calls over this. And my question was, what are you going to base this on? Why are you doing this? Because I don't know if anybody else is actually putting their entire team through leadership training. So the first question is, Sean, let's share with the listeners why you feel training your people as leaders is such an important part of the success ingredient that you're trying to instill there.
Well, to be honest, I think it's everything. I think, leadership for me has become, I think, the key to our success. We are, as you said, we've gone through a lot of changes over the last 4 years. In particular, 2022, I think we've had the most change. A lot of that I think came from all the things that I've learned and what we have tried to improve on. And I think the single most thing that has made the biggest impact has been leadership. And it kind of started with me being the business owner and realizing that, well, as the leader of this company, I need to improve my leadership skills. And come to find out, that was a big reason why we had so many problems in the past, is I wasn't a very good leader. I can't say that I feel I have grown and learned a lot. I still have a lot more to learn and grow on, but that has just changed how we do things drastically and why, I think. And the why part is extremely important as well. I think it's a very, very important part of leadership, but to just kind of give a little bit of an example. So everyone on our team is new. I don't have anyone that's worked more than a year here. Last year, we reset the company almost twice, completely reset almost twice. And the reason why we've had to do that is because part of it was I wasn't ready to lead the people that I had on the team, or I had hired the wrong people because I didn't know what I was looking for. I didn't know what qualities I needed to grow and develop the team I wanted. So that was a really, really big learning experience. And as I started hiring the right people and figuring out what those qualities are that I need and want for a true team, a team of people that cares, a team of people that works together, a team of people that supports each other, I realized there's one common thing that they all had, and that was heart, that was care. And most people have heart, most people have care, but the really big difference I've found with our team versus maybe some of the people in the past that were on our team is that they actually put it into action. They have actionable steps that show that they care and show that they have heart. They just don't talk about it. They don't just have good intentions. They actually put themselves forward and put themselves in positions where they are taking actionable steps to show it and display it. And that's been one of the biggest things. So as far as the leadership class that I decided to put our team through, first off, it's voluntary. I'm not putting our team through this. I said I was going to do this, and I told everyone it's your choice. It's up to you whether you want to go through this or not. Now, leading up to that, the last month and a half, 2 months, I have been making some changes within our company structure and starting to incorporate leadership into how we run our business and how you can excel within the business. So one of the big things that we've done is we've kind of created these 3 pillars of advancement within our company. You can advance through your technical abilities, being able to take certifications, do online training, pass tests, things like that. The mechanical pillar, which is really what you can do with your hands or your mind, what kind of skills and work can you actually physically do. And then there's the third pillar, which is the leadership pillar. Now, this to me was, I think, a big game changer on why we're doing what we're doing and what it's going to look like in the future. I have a lot of big dreams as far as where I want to take this company. And what I was realizing is, well, I need leaders. I need other leaders to help me get there. I can't do it all on my own. I need people that can help train. I need people that can help manage, right? But with the leadership pillar, for me, that is essentially the supervisors, the managers, but we are taking a different step towards that. There's 5 different of leadership designations that we're developing and incorporating into the company. So it's just another way of advancing within the company and utilizing trainings and advancements in leadership skills is how I think our guys are going to succeed and achieve the most. And through talking about it is one thing, right? Saying, hey, this is how we can succeed as a team. This is how you can advance yourself. This is one of the ways you could advance yourself is one thing. But again, action is a big part of it. So I thought we need to be able to act on that. We need to have a class. We need to be able to open up a platform where they themselves can learn how to be better leaders. So that's where the idea of starting a leadership class came from. And again, it's voluntary. We just happen to have everyone on the team volunteer to do it. And so, yeah.
Right. And so you're aware, I was able to actually observe Sean for teaching his first class when I was at his location earlier this week. And like I said, it was a great presentation. And if you're listening to this, be aware, because Sean is going to be doing a similar setting at the National Chimney Sweep Guild Convention. He'll be one of those featured speakers there talking about how to do this. So Cheryl, let's start with you. What would be your question to Sean about why and how and what his anticipated results will be?
Okay, Sean. The main thing is we're all looking for better leaders. Okay, so you have a fairly good sized team at this point, if I'm correct. And if we're going to all excel to a certain position. So is there going to be a point, do you think that you're going to have to look at one and say, you're not leadership material? And how would you handle that?
Yeah. Well, I think that's definitely something as the leader, as the owner, as a boss, you look at, and kind of gauge, okay, who has the leadership abilities, who has the skills, right? And I very much have done that a lot in the past. I kind of look at it from a different point of view now, though. I don't look at what skills they have. I look at what potential they have, right? And I look for the core. And again, that core, to me, the core of leadership is heart, care. So if everyone has that foundation, if they have heart, if they have care, they can develop themselves into leaders if they put energy into it. And that's kind of the introduction to this leadership class. That's kind of how it started. Is the cool thing is anyone can be a leader, right? I think the thing that helps the most, again, is the heart, is the care. But even there, you can develop yourself to improve those aspects about yourself as well. So even if you don't have that innate ability to just give and be empathetic, you can still learn those things even. So instead of saying, oh, well, these 2 people right here, they're the ones that have the most leadership abilities. So I'm going to, just focus all my attention on them. With the class, I'm able to help everyone advance, right? And even if it's not to the point that I need them yet, it at least builds on their foundation, and it will improve their ability to do the work and grow within the company. The thing is about leadership and about self-development, it's not a short-term thing, right? If you read the stories about successful leaders, it takes years, it takes decades sometimes. You'll find that a lot in, I'm not much of a religious person, but you will find it a lot in scripture. If you look at all the big leaders within there, I think it was Moses, it took 40 years in the desert till he developed his leadership skills. I mean, it takes time, right? But if we don't start somewhere, if we don't start providing the tools and the resources for them to learn and to be able to utilize to help themselves, they're never going to advance. So I think that's a big part of it. I think that's the most important part, is being there to support them on that journey and providing the right tools so that they can understand it, learn it, and be able to act on it for themselves.
Sounds very interesting, Sean. So, Brandy, what would be your question after listening to Sean's explanations so far?
Yeah, well, first I want to commend you because you're doing something that I think a lot of people overlook in our industry. I don't buy the philosophy that leaders are born. I think that you have to be trained in those skills. I also think that everybody has the potential to become a leader. It's not just one or two people. I know that when I'm teaching leadership classes, one of the things, and when I'm working with clients, that a lot of leaders struggle with is giving feedback, particularly negative feedback, coaching. What do you think is one of the number one leadership challenges?
Well, so I think one of the number one leadership challenges that I've seen within other businesses is heart. They don't care about their employees enough to give them the attention they need or the support that they need. So in turn, the employees either don't stay or they don't develop. They don't turn into the people that they actually need them to be because they don't give them the time. They don't give them the heart. They don't give them that care and support that they need to develop and grow. They just expect it. And most people expect it out of osmosis, which all of us, everyone knows that, it's not that very rarely just happens. As you said, people typically aren't born leaders, right? They have to develop those skills. Some people, gain those skills through their childhood or through their young adult years, depending on their upbringing and parents and people that have helped them and their relationships along the way. But I think most of us really have to learn how to grow our leadership skills. We really have to put that time and energy into it. I know I certainly have. I think in this last year, things have changed drastically for myself. And I think the things that have changed is that self-development, the desire to do better, the desire to figure out what I am doing wrong, what I need to improve on. One of the principles that I learned, this last year through reading books, one of the books that really I latched on to was the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. I think that was a game changer for me and opened up the door into understanding leadership a lot more and what all goes into it and what can come out of it. And he talks a lot about the law of the lid, right? So, and this is where I feel that most businesses struggle, is their leader, their owner, the person running that organization, responsible for everyone within that organization, their leadership ability is capped somewhere. And they're not doing anything to advance it. They're not doing anything to improve that or grow. Or alternatively, they're not bringing in the right people to help bring that lid up, right? Because that's another way you can advance leadership, is by bringing in others who have more leadership skills or abilities or experience to further the organization and the people within it. So with that principle in mind, realizing that, okay, well, if our culture needs to grow and change and be better for us in order to grow, if the leadership abilities of the people that I'm hiring need to be better for them to do what I want them to do and what I see them doing, well, I need to become a better leader first, right? So that's where having that mentality of advancing myself and then being able to advance others after that. So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
It does. Thank you.
Okay, so Sean, I'm holding up the book that he's talking about, which is written by Dr. John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And it's one of the books that we utilize in our coaching practices. And it's part of my recommendation to every client that become part of their reading list as far as that's concerned. So here's my question to you, Sean. One of the hardest parts of doing presentations is building the content. We all three build presentations, and you see Brandy shaking her head right now, but it's like she's getting ready to do a training next week, and building that content is probably harder and tougher than doing the actual presentation and doing it. And you're going through this also because you're building a program to present in Louisville, Kentucky at the NCSG convention this year. So, but here's my question to you. You decided you wanted to do this. Then you had to build the content to be able to do it. So where did you get your concept of what you would use as your content? And have you laid out 8 sessions at this point, or are you concentrating on one on each week?
Yeah. So as with anything, it always starts as an idea, right? you kind of get a thought in your head, and for me, that those happen very often. I can't tell you how many notes I have on my phone of all these ideas that are running through my brain. But for me, figuring this out, what I really, really wanted to do was, bring actionable tools to our team to advance their leadership. And through the class, what I figured was an 8-week class, like you had mentioned. And it really, a big part of this particular class is geared on our internal leadership program, again, advancement. So real quickly, just kind of jumping through that, it all starts with understanding leadership, right? If you don't understand leadership, you're not going to be able to, or not going to be as successful growing and learning and developing, right? So that was the first step, is jumping into what is leadership. The second part of that is, what can leadership do for you and your life? And not just in the workplace. Again, the cool thing about leadership is it focuses on self-development, self-improvement. So it improves your character, it improves the person you are. And that moves into your personal life with friends, family, and can improve those relationships as well. So, and grow new relationships. From there, we dive into those 5 levels of leadership within the company. So the first one is the self leader. So you have to learn how to lead yourself first before you can start leading others. Again, that's that self-development side of it. The second one is a project leader. So this is someone who is responsible for a job, responsible for an installation, responsible for repair, and they're responsible for the team that's on that, right? So then they start becoming responsible for other people at that point, right? And so developing skills and focusing on attributes that attribute to that and give them the tools and the know-how on how to do that successfully. The third one is the team leader. So that's where you get to a point, at least within our company, where you start getting actually out of the field and you're starting to be responsible for full teams. And the approach there is really, in most companies and through the years, thinking about management and supervisors, they're the people that are in control. They're the people that are telling people what to do. They're people, and a lot of times, that are micromanaging and coming down on people. But for us, that's why we took a different approach, because I never liked that mentality. For us, managers, supervisors, they are the biggest supporters, right? They're the ones that are right there helping the team the most. They're the ones figuring out, hey, what could we have done to make that easier for you? Or, hey, what kind of training do you need? Or if someone's sick, someone needs time off, they're the ones jumping in and covering for that person. They're the ones supporting those team members. From there, it goes to the project. Not the project, but the program leader. This is kind of more of upper management, where you're really the implementer. You're the person that is leading through technology and leading through implementing new systems for the team to help get them to success. They're really kind of the how people. And then, how are we going to do this? And then there's the organizational leaders, right? And that's the people with the vision. That's the people with the direction. They are guiding and watching for obstacles along the way, giving inspiration to everyone within the organization, and again, setting that direction. So from there, then it's about in each one of those, obviously there's different attributes, there's different skills to get to those different levels. But explaining and showing and giving tools to reach to those levels, and breaking it down for them so they can really truly understand it, which is something you don't see very often. I think understanding and giving direction are really, really important things. So having the why and the how part, and then closing out, that class with how are they going to utilize these tools that they just learned in their own lives and to advance themselves. So that's kind of my thought. Now, that's the idea. As far as the content goes, that's been a developing process. I'll have to say that first class, I didn't have any content till the morning of. I put about an hour and a half, 2 hours into it that morning. And it's all, a lot of it is coming off the cuff. A lot of it is coming off of the input I've received, the input I have, the notes I have for myself, and really just focusing on key concepts and trying to build on that. I think for myself, everyone's a little bit different but for myself, I think I present the best. I think I teach the best when it comes from the heart. So I try not to cloud it too much. I did a slide for that first class, which for me, I've never done a slide before, so that threw me off a little bit. I honestly don't know if I'm going to continue doing that because it took a little bit away from that just coming from the heart part of it, right? And so I don't know. I think everyone has their own devices and ways of doing that. But really, I think the biggest thing was just starting it. Knowing I didn't have all the content laid out, I could have spent 5 years figuring out what the content was going to be and perfecting it and all of that. But I knew that wasn't going to benefit our team. So I decided to just jump in and make the best of it. And I know it will improve as time goes on. So.
Good answer, man. Because like I said, you can definitely come off the cuff and have great input. So Cheryl, your turn. What would you next ask Sean about this process?
Okay, Sean, as you know, business owners, we have a lot of thoughts. We have a lot of projects that we're looking at. We have a lot of things that we really like, as Jerry says, we really need to turn over and go back to sleep with. But what was the magic moment, as Jerry calls it, that made you decide this is where you wanted to go? And then secondly, once you decided this, did you have a mentor? I know you used your books, but was there a human mentor that you looked towards? And 3, how did you decide to dump two full companies?
How do you decide to dump 2 full companies? What?
You rebooted. You said you totally rebooted.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So, sorry, I got caught up on the last one. Give me the first 2 again.
What was the magic moment?
Magic moment. Yep, got it.
Did you have a human mentor? And how did you reboot twice? How did you come without fear? Most people would have been scared to death to pull a reboot once, much less twice.
Well, yeah, I think over the last 4 years, there's been more than just one reboot. I think I've had to reset multiple times. But start off with the first question, the magic moment. To be honest, I don't think I can pinpoint one instance, one event. It's definitely been a culmination of different things, different moments, different instances. I think the biggest thing is timing, though, and just being ready to receive the right information and then understanding it too. I think a lot of the information over the last year in some way or another has been presented to me before, but I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready to actually accept it or to understand it. So I think the thing that really shifted for myself in developing myself and making a really big change and really changing kind of my why almost too was really my immersion into myself. And that kind of happened in 2021. It honestly started with a podcast. I had never listened to a podcast before. We were on a road trip driving back, saw on Facebook, it was actually John Caesar's Lend Me Your Ears podcast. And I saw it on Facebook and I thought, we're in the car. Why not? Let's listen to it. And that was kind of the gateway drug for me. Just realizing that there's other people out there that are going through the same struggles. There's other people out there that have been through the things that I was going through. There's other people out there that have information and they're willing to give it. And then from there, I mean, that's reaching out, finding mentors was kind of the next step. Now I have these resources, podcasts, books, and things like that. But having a guide, having a coach, having a mentor is extremely important for your self-development. And it doesn't necessarily always have to be that they have the answers for you, because I think, at least as a coach goes, it's not really about having the answers, but it's about help guiding those people to find the answers for themselves, and being a sounding board, right? So for me, I've had multiple mentors, and I still have multiple mentors. Obviously, Jerry being our coach, and each one of you, even, I've learned so much from over the course of this year, and feel honored to have you guys as a resource for myself. But I have someone that actually originally was a customer of ours. And through that relationship that I built with him, through just the services we were providing, we've developed a really deep relationship. We really consider ourselves family. And he's really become a huge mentor for me on just self-development, because he is just this amazing, giving person. But I think from there, the rebooting part is all just acknowledging that what we're doing is not working. So instead of making the same mistakes over and over and over again, changing the script. And in order to do that, we've had to reset. We've had to let go of people. We've had to hire new people. We've had to make changes within the company that people didn't like, and so they left because of it. I've had a lot of people that didn't understand the changes, and I think that's where I learned a lot about leadership. Was I wasn't explaining things, I wasn't giving the direction well enough, and I wasn't presenting the why. So I really go back to those things for the roots of almost everything we do within our company. I always start with the why, as Simon Sinek is a big proponent of. I mean, he's got a whole book on it. I happen to be right in the middle of it, but it's starting with the why and providing that support and that guidance through there. I think that's one of the most extreme things, not maybe extreme, but one of the more important things about leadership is that support aspect, showing people that you've got their back. So yeah, that's the magic moment, the mentors and rebooting.
Great stuff, Sean. And it's evident you are very well read and you listen to other people and gain wisdom from other people. That's coming out very evident in here and this discussion we're having today. So, Brandy, what would be your next question for Sean?
Yeah. First of all, I love your vulnerability and your heart. We know that the top-down leadership management model doesn't work anymore. That's very out of date. Leadership has changed just even in the last 5 years, the way that we lead our people. I'm of the philosophy, give them the tools they need and then get out of their way. I was fortunate enough to be on a Lady Titans call earlier this week with Felicity from your office. And I could tell right away that she was a leader because of the words she was using. She was taking ownership and saying, well, we're going to do this in the company this year. We want to do this. She wasn't saying the owner wants to do this or the boss wants to do this. She was using those ownership words. She was already bought in. And I know you're sending her to Kansas City next week for my 2-day management class. What do you hope that she gets out of that?
Confidence. I think that's going to be the most important thing for her, is confidence in what we're doing. I know that there's going to be a lot of tools we'll be able to utilize as well to incorporate. And, being the person that she is, she's very good at implementing things too. So, we spend a lot of time bouncing off of each other. actually our whole team, our whole company does that. That's kind of the culture that we've created. We share ideas, we share thoughts. When we did our annual meeting this year and started setting goals for the company, I didn't talk about any of the goals that I wanted. All I talked about was the dynamics of the company. We talked a lot about finances because I hadn't done that with our new team. I've done that in the past with older teams, but with our whole new team, I hadn't done that yet. So we talked a lot about, the finances, and then asked them, what are your goals? What do you think we can do this year, right? And put the ball in their court. Obviously I have my own internal things, but if, like, as you were saying with Felicity, she's already got those thoughts. She knows the direction that we're going because we discussed it as a group, and then we laid it out and we defined it and made sure that we understand, what it is we're trying to shoot for, and then how we're going to get there. So,
thank you.
Okay, so Sean, one of the things that I know about you, because I've observed this, is you're very intent upon locating the right seed. Your interview process, I've observed both in person, from watching you do an in-person interview with prospective hires, and I've also watched you do remote with CSRs. I watched you do 5 different interviews earlier this week, and this involves both you and Felicity that are involved, and after that, you guys compare notes and make the best selection. So, and then another thing that you use is you're a firm believer in assessing what their DISC are. You have all your people DISC assessed to get their behavior patterns. So how important are all these things in order to build leaders to ensure that when you hire someone, that you have the right seed?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And for me, because it might be different for someone else, but for me, it's the heart, it's the care. If they have that foundation, I know I can grow on that. I know I can inspire. I know I can lead them well. Because I think that's where my strength and my leadership abilities comes from. So it's very easy for me to play off of that. I feel that the hard part about that in an interview is finding out, are they the type of person that truly uses that to their advantage and uses it in actionable steps? Or are they someone that just, they like the idea, they have the good intention, they talk a lot about it, but they're not able to execute it very well. And I think that's the harder part in an interview. So with a lot of my questions, I try and suss that out. I really try and pay attention to the other questions that get asked in an interview as well, the responses, and then the examples that they present to answer the questions that we're providing, because then that kind of shows us a little bit about what have they done in the past in those situations, and what were the actionable steps that they took to resolve or handle those situations. So, and looking, did someone make a decision based out of heart, or did they make a decision based off of what was easiest? Did they make a decision based off of what they thought was right? So that's, as far as the interview process goes, I think that's finding that right seed it's always probably one of the most difficult things, I think, as a business owner. You have to go through is finding the right people. And I know Cheryl and Brandy have a lot of experience in that. And I think it goes so much beyond, though, just finding that right person. I think it's developing the right person, because I don't think you're really going to ever find the perfect fit, right? But if you can find someone, again, with just that fundamental basis that you can build off of, and then giving them as much support as you possibly can. And that's why I feel like I'm so involved with our team on all the different levels. I think you had said it earlier, Brandy, where, you give them the tools and then you kind of get out of the way, right? The tools are extremely important, but I don't believe in getting out of the way. I believe you've got to guide them there. I think you've got to be there to help support them. Jerry had asked me a question about the interviews that we had done, and he said, after that, why didn't you just delegate that to Felicity? She's obviously more than capable of doing that, but for me, it's a show of support. It's being there with her, going through the motions with her. Yeah, my time could have been spent doing a lot of other things, but I know it was a really important thing for our whole team. But being there for her was the most important thing. And that's how I approach every single one of our team members, is being there as much as possible. I think a lot of people have talked about this, a lot of different books and a lot of really great leaders. But it's that supporting part, right? And then the DISC, yeah, I think I wanted to touch on that real quick. So DISC has been really, really important for me in my self-development. It's that whole understanding part, right? Understanding, well, why are we a certain way? And understanding our tendencies. And then from there, once you understand them, then you can decide, well, do I like that aspect about me or not, right? And then that's how you can start building a game plan to start having some actual items to change the things you don't like or improve on those things. Now with DISC, we have our whole team get DISC, and that's actually going to be part of that that self-development part of the leadership class is looking at our DISCs. So we're actually going to be diving into our DISC during that class. It's going to be a portion of it. So I'm kind of excited to get into that. Yeah.
Good answer, Sean. And what this is all showing is how you as a leader has evolved and I'm going to do this, and how you're coaching your people, not just managing them, but actually coaching them to get to the next level. And that's what's so exceptional here about you, and where I actually share you with other people sometimes and say, hey, this is a guy that I want you to talk to because they're facing similar challenges, but you come out when challenges hit you and the rebooting is needed, no matter how painful this reboot is, you go through it. It's like one of the conclusions you came to this year was, and this was a hard one, that you cannot run this business from the seat of a service truck or out doing installs. It's impossible. And it was not only harming the company, it was harming you personally. And I thought it was affecting your health. And I actually shared that with another client today, that for his own well-being, he had to get out of that truck. So Cheryl, and this will be your last time, Cheryl, because we're running out of time here. So Cheryl, what would be your last question to Sean today on this subject?
Mine's more of a statement than a question. Sean, I want to commend you for where you have come from to where you are now. I've watched you grow over the last little while, and I wish that more people could accept the fact that they are the beginning. So if you had, so I do have a question. So if you had one point to give people, what would it be?
That's a great question. I think there's so many really, really good things, but I think the easiest thing for someone to learn and incorporate into their lives as an actionable step is giving. It shows care, it shows heart. And so if you're someone that is struggling with leading, if you're someone who wants to become a better leader, I think one of the first steps you can incorporate is giving, whether it's your time, whether it's taking someone out to lunch, whether it's giving knowledge, just try to give more. And through that, I think you'll find that it'll start developing that heart and more care. And again, we'll kind of put you down that better path of being a good leader. People respond really well to that action, right? We like to receive. We feel, even just the comment that you made, commending me for my growth, that's giving, right? It makes us feel good. And if you can, the more you give, the more people you're going to be able to help too. And in turn, it also inspires, and inspiring is a huge part of leadership. So that would be the one thing I would share with everyone, is just give more. Doesn't matter how small or how big, just start practicing that more.
Yep. Excellent answer, Sean. Sure. Cheryl, did that give you your answer you were looking for?
It did. I kind of, like I say, I've seen Sean grow. I knew where it was coming from, but there's a lot of people out there that don't know where to start. And that was for the main reason for the question.
Well, I think Sean came to the conclusion, and it follows my point of view. He was in pain and he had to make a choice. Would he continue in the pain he was in, or would he go through the pain of change? Sean, would you say that pretty well hits Sean Kraemer between the eyes?
Most certainly. Yeah.
Okay. So, Randy, what would be your last question for Sean today that you're going to have the honor of actually training his office manager next week? And we'll spend time face to face, and we'll actually see face to face what a rock star she is.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. So my last question would be, so for the people that are out there that are watching that are like, yeah, leadership, this is all good, but I don't have the time or the money. I'm not going to take a technician out of the field. I'm not going to take a CSR off the phones. What would be your advice to them?
Oh, well, I don't want to have the generic answer of it'll pay for itself, because I feel that's the answer most people give. Time is one of our biggest challenges, I think, as owners, and it's an easy excuse for most things, right? I would say that as a business owner, if you feel you don't have time to devote maybe leadership training or devote energy into your people, I certainly don't have the time to devote as much time as I would like. But I think one thing you can do, again, is give, but support. Always be available. And if you can find a way to give your time to your team and put that energy into your team to help them grow, to help them develop, they will pretty soon start taking on the responsibilities and the things that you are stuck doing. So it will give you more time. So as a leader, really, of a company, you're responsible for your internal customers. Tommy Mello talks about this a lot, right? And that's your job. And so the goal is to coach and train, your team to start taking care of the customers. But when you start getting to the management levels too, you've got to coach them on how to take care of the rest of the team as well. So then they can start taking chunks. So investing in your team through leadership, to me, is one of the most valuable things. It's been the thing that has helped my team be successful. It's helped my team grow. A really good example is a lot of the pain and that I have gone through, having to reset. We started December with 2 new technicians that had about 4 months worth of training under their belt, getting out into a truck on their own, and they are the best technicians I've ever had. The reason being is I think because of the training we've put them through, but not in the technical sense, because I've actually put more people through more technical training in the past, and they weren't as good as these guys. It came from the basis of having heart and care, which they do have, whereas a lot of my other guys haven't had, and then supporting them, being there for them every step of the way. If they've got a question, not disregarding it, not saying I don't have time for that, answering it and giving into them. And they've been phenomenal. I've got 2 other guys on our install team that, one of which has got, we hired him in October, and he's running an install truck and able to do really, really well. He came in with the technical ability, but it's because of the support that I've been able to give him that's made him successful. So if you really want your team to do the best they can, if you really want to see your business grow, you've got to be there for them. You've got to support them, and you've got to give them the right tools. The technical aspect is extremely important. The mechanical aspect is extremely important. The equipment is extremely important. But that leadership part, if you teach that, if you help them develop themselves, they're going to live better lives, happier lives, more fulfilling lives. And they're going to be more capable of taking on new responsibilities. So to me, that right there is more important than the others.
Well, and I know you're serious about helping people, because I remember a while back when I had a question for you and I completely forgot about the time difference, and I ended up calling you at like 4:30 or 5:30 in the morning your time, probably waking up your whole family, and you picked up the phone.
Well, I tend to wake up early, but yeah. Yep. So, and it's hard for me to say no. It really is. I do want to help as many people as I can, and I want to make an impact in as many people's lives for the better as I can. And I think that's really the why for me on growing my business. I want to have great careers for people. I want to develop more leaders for our community, for our society, because I feel we're lacking really good leaders. And I feel the disconnect is people aren't learning what leadership is, and no one is providing people with the tools. Organizations typically aren't providing leadership tools. And honestly, I think it's the game changer. At least it has been for us.
Yeah. And you know something, I want to share this with you, Sean. You know, I have watched you go through a transition. I have watched you face challenges. I have watched you, I've seen other people just throw their hands up. I hear people, and Brandy, Cheryl, you hear this too. Nobody wants to work today. Nobody wants to do this. Nobody wants to do this. And what you've shared with people today is honestly how you operate a business today and into the future. And what I'm looking forward to, Sean, is when you get this business to the level that you can go to the next step. Because I know that deep down inside, and you and I have had these conversations, you want to help other people in the industry. And I've actually had to say, whoa, I applaud you for wanting to help others, but at this stage of your life, you got to help Sean. You got to concentrate on Sean's business. But here's what I see. I see that as you do these things and you reach the levels that I know you will reach because you're that determined, you're going to be able to share what you know, what you've learned with other people in the industry. So I see down the road that Sean Kraemer is going to be a person that's going to affect many people that he's going to come in contact. You're going to become such a positive influence in this industry, Sean. And I see you of where you're going to assume a leadership position later on. Cheryl, Brandy, would you agree with what I'm saying right now?
100%.
Same here. There's a handful of people that you see this in.
It truly is. I work with a lot of clients and all across the country, and I see this. And you're what I consider a trophy client, Sean, because you were so dedicated and you stay to it. You continuously, and you can take criticism. You don't get butt hurt. You take it honestly, and you're willing to move on because it's not my job to candy coat it. It's my job to tell you honestly and upfront, this is how we do it. So I want to congratulate you. And I really want to thank you for coming on today after I saw you give this leadership seminar the other day. I was sitting there listening and I said, we're going to do leadership this week on our broadcast, teaching your people leadership. And I'm going to invite Sean to be our guest this week. So Sean, I want to appreciate you taking this time out of your day because I know how busy you are, folks. This guy gets up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Believe it or not, I talk to him at 6 a.m. Pacific time. We have conversations, and that's pretty tough. Brandy might be a person that can have that conversation at 6 a.m. her time, but a lot of people can't. So, Sean, we appreciate you sharing with us today. And this has been another episode of the Chimney and Fireplace Success Network. If you want to get results, if it's time for you to reboot your business, I hope you've listened to what Sean has shared with you today, because he's went through the pain of rebooting, making the changes, moving forward, investing into the change. But he has a plan, and that plan, with his drive, his determination, is going to play out for him, and he is going to come out on top. So thanks for joining this week. We hope this has been a time of value for you to have to spend with us today. And just like Chuck Roadhouse just said, thanks, Sean. Great job. So, hey, he's a pretty hard nut to make happy too, Sean. So there you go. Know him too well. Okay. So I appreciate your comments as always, Chuck. Appreciate those of you that have liked what we've done today and loved us like this, feel free to share this out with other people. I think that what we have discussed today could be one of those gold nuggets that could zoom you to the top and get you to where you want to be in life. So see you next